Tea is considered the oldest medicine in the world, but few people know that some teas can actually cleanse the aging brain after 55. Let me tell you the story of Helen, a 67-year-old woman who discovered a forgotten tea that transformed her memory. But before her story, you must know this. There is a simple herbal blend that reduces brain inflammation within minutes. It isn't magic, it isn't a trend, and it doesn't come from a lab. It's the same mixture grandmothers used for generations to keep their minds sharp. Modern science finally confirmed what they always knew. This tea activates the areas of the brain responsible for recent memory. But Helen only discovered it after she began forgetting details of her own routine, something that terrified her deeply. And that's why you need to stay with me, because her journey may reveal exactly what your brain is asking for right now. By the end, you'll understand how this tea works, how to prepare it, and why it becomes so powerful after age 60. And more importantly, you'll understand how a simple daily ritual can protect your mind for years to come. So let me take you to Helen's story, because this tea changed her life, and it might change yours too. Helen lived alone in a quiet neighborhood, and lately her memory had begun to slip in unsettling ways. She would walk into a room and stand still, unsure of why she went there in the first place. She started misplacing her keys, her glasses, even her wallet, forcing her to retrace her steps slowly. Her daughter noticed her repeating the same questions during phone calls, sounding confused. Helen tried to hide these moments, but the fear inside her chest grew heavier each day. One afternoon, she forgot her own appointment at the clinic, something she had never done before. The nurse gently suggested a cognitive screening, which sent a chill down Helen's spine. She remembered her mother's slow decline into Alzheimer's and the helplessness that followed. That memory haunted her, a future she prayed she would never face herself. Helen began searching online for answers, desperate for anything that could help. She read articles about sleep, vitamins, walking routines, and mental stimulation. But everything felt scattered, overwhelming, and impossible to organize. One night, she found a study about brain inflammation and age-related memory decline. The article said the brain doesn't forget randomly. It inflames gradually like an old joint. That idea struck her deeply, because she felt inflammation everywhere, even in her knees. If her joints could swell, maybe her brain could too, and maybe that swelling slowed her thoughts. She felt a strange mix of fear and hope reading those words on her dim tablet screen. Then she stumbled on a story about a neurologist studying traditional teas used by elderly women. The article mentioned a blend that helps seniors regain clarity within weeks. Helen clicked instantly, her heart beating faster with curiosity. It wasn't a supplement, a pill, or an exotic plant. It was a simple grandmother's recipe. The neurologist believed the tea reduced microinflammation around memory centers. Helen wondered if something so simple could really help her troubled mind. She kept reading, absorbing every detail like a lifeline thrown into deep waters. The recipe mentioned rosemary, turmeric, and lemon balm, combined in warm water. These herbs were known for improving circulation and calming overstimulated neurons. Helen remembered her grandmother stirring rosemary sprigs into hot water on cold evenings. Back then, she thought it was just a comforting ritual, not a healing one. The neurologist explained that after age 60, blood flow to the brain naturally weakens. Inflammation rises quietly, slowing the signals that store and retrieve memories. Helen felt as if someone was finally explaining what she had been living silently. Her mind wasn't failing. It was struggling, tired, and overloaded with inflammation. The article described seniors who felt awake again after adding the tea to their routine. Helen felt a spark of hope she hadn't felt in months, a small flame returning. She printed the article and placed it on her kitchen counter with shaking hands. The next morning, she went to a small herbal shop she had passed for years but never entered. The shop smelled of dry leaves, old wood, and something calming she couldn't name. An elderly woman behind the counter smiled warmly as Helen approached. Helen felt safe enough to confess her fear of forgetting the people she loved. The woman listened quietly, nodding with a softness that made Helen's eyes well with tears. She said many people came with the same fear, especially after turning 60 or 70. Then she pulled 3 jars from the shelf: rosemary, turmeric, and lemon balm. She placed them gently on the wooden counter as if presenting sacred tools. Helen asked if they really worked, her voice trembling with vulnerability. The woman smiled and said the brain is like a tired garden that needs gentle watering. She explained that these herbs reduce swelling and improve the brain's oxygen flow. Helen imagined her brain receiving a gentle breeze after years of foggy air. The woman wrote the recipe on a small piece of brown paper for Helen to take home. Helen held the note tightly as if it were a prescription filled with hope. She returned home and boiled water carefully, placing the herbs inside the cup. The aroma filled her kitchen with a nostalgic warmth that made her chest loosen. She sat at the table, watching the steam rise, feeling nervous and hopeful at once. Her first sip was earthy, floral, and strangely comforting, like a memory returning. She felt a quiet calm spreading through her body as she finished the cup slowly. That night she wrote in her journal, promising herself to drink the tea every morning. It was the first small step she had taken toward protecting her mind, and she felt proud. But she had no idea how deeply this ritual would change her life in the weeks ahead. She also didn't know that the real discovery would come from a neurologist she hadn't met yet. Millions of seniors are fighting memory loss without knowing it begins with brain inflammation. Most think it's aging, but in reality, small daily habits can slow or speed up the decline. That's why stories like Helen's matter. They reveal solutions hidden in plain sight. If you want more science-backed rituals that protect your brain after 60, stay with us. Subscribe to Longevity Coffee and take your daily moment of care. Turn on notifications so you never miss a life-changing discovery. Your mind deserves clarity, strength, and peace, no matter your age. And sometimes, the answer is simpler than you think, like a cup of tea. So, join our community of seniors choosing to age with confidence and wisdom. Now, let's continue Helen's story, because the real transformation was just beginning. Helen woke up the next morning with unusual anticipation, eager for her second cup of tea. She boiled the water, added the herbs, and inhaled the aroma with a soft smile. The warm scent reminded her of simpler times, giving her a sense of safety. She drank it slowly, trying to notice every sensation in her body. She didn't feel sharper yet, but she felt calmer, and that was already something. On the third day, she noticed her thoughts felt slightly less tangled. She didn't lose her keys that day, a small victory that made her grin. By the fifth morning, she felt a little more present. While cooking breakfast, she found herself humming a tune she hadn't remembered in years. Her daughter called and noticed Helen sounded lighter, more focused. Helen didn't mention the tea yet, wanting to be sure it truly helped. But inside, she felt hope sprouting like a weak plant reaching for sunlight. After a week, she returned to the herbal shop to thank the elderly woman. The woman smiled knowingly, saying the brain responds to consistency. She encouraged Helen to keep drinking the tea daily without skipping. Helen promised she would, holding the jar of rosemary tightly. Her confidence began to grow as her days felt less chaotic. She still had moments of forgetfulness, but they didn't scare her as much. Instead of panicking, she breathed deep and reminded herself she was healing. 2 weeks later, Helen took a cognitive focus test online out of curiosity. She scored slightly higher than the month before, which shocked her. The small improvement filled her with pride, proof she wasn't helpless. She printed the results and taped them inside her journal. As motivation, she continued her new ritual, sipping her tea each morning by the window. Birds gathered near the glass, and she noticed their songs more clearly. Her world felt sharper, as if someone had cleaned an old dusty lens. One afternoon, she read more about the neurologist featured in the article. His name was Dr. Sato, a specialist in brain aging and herbal neuroprotection. He had studied villages where seniors remained mentally sharp past 90. These elders drank herbal teas daily, calling them mind cleansers. Dr. Sato discovered that rosemary boosts blood flow to the brain's memory hubs. He also found that turmeric reduces microinflammation in older neurons. Lemon balm calms the mind, reducing cortisol and nighttime anxiety. Helen read every word twice, mesmerized by the blend's scientific depth. She wondered if she might meet this neurologist one day. A week later, she found out he would be speaking at a local wellness center. Her heart raced as she registered for the event without hesitation. When the day arrived, she wore her favorite blue dress and pearl earrings. She sat in the front row, eager to absorb every moment. Dr. Sato walked in, slowly, gentle and composed, with a kind expression. He spoke about cognitive inflammation and the brain's energy bottleneck. He said seniors often feel fogged because their neurons aren't being fueled properly. He emphasized how herbs can open blood flow corridors in the brain. Helen felt as if he were speaking directly to her deepest fear. He mentioned stories of patients who regained clarity through herbal rituals. Some had sharper recall, others slept better, and many felt calmer. Helen wiped a tear as she realized she wasn't alone in her struggle. When the lecture ended, she gathered the courage to approach him. She explained her memory lapses and her fear of Alzheimer's. Dr. Sato listened with warmth, validating her experience with gentle nods. He asked about her daily routine, stress levels, and sleep patterns. She told him about the tea and her small improvements. His eyes lit up, saying she had chosen the perfect combination for her age. He encouraged her to continue but added one more crucial step. He told her to take the tea 15 minutes after waking, not immediately. This timing maximized brain oxygenation and allowed the herbs to work better. He also advised her to inhale rosemary steam before drinking the tea. Helen felt excited, as if she were learning secret techniques for her mind. She thanked him deeply, feeling a renewed sense of direction. That night, she prepared her herbs for the next morning with care. She felt a quiet certainty that she was finally taking control of her future. And in the days that followed, her transformation would become undeniable. Helen woke up early the next day, determined to follow Dr. Sato's advice precisely. She sat quietly for 15 minutes, letting her brain settle before preparing the tea. As the water heated, she leaned over the cup and inhaled the rosemary steam deeply. The warm scent traveled through her nose and felt like it cleared a small path inside her head. She sipped the tea afterward, feeling the herbs flow through her system gently. By noon, she noticed she felt more centered, less distracted by small worries. Her thoughts felt smoother, like they were moving without friction. That afternoon, she cleaned a drawer she had avoided for months, sorting everything calmly. She didn't feel overwhelmed, which surprised her. Small tasks were becoming easier, like pieces of herself returning home. A week later, she realized she hadn't repeated herself during conversations. Her daughter even commented that Helen sounded more like her old self. Helen felt a warmth inside her heart, a hope she had missed deeply. During her evening walk, she noticed the air felt crisper and the colors more vivid. The world seemed less foggy, as if her mind was waking up with her senses. She kept writing in her journal, tracking every improvement faithfully. She wrote that her mind felt lighter, a word she hadn't used in years. Helen continued attending Dr. Sato's weekly sessions whenever possible. Each lecture made her feel more empowered and in control of her cognitive health. He explained how stress hormones shrink memory centers with age, but herbs, breathing, and consistent routines could reverse much of the damage. Helen applied everything he taught, treating her brain with gentle respect. She no longer felt ashamed of her forgetfulness, understanding it as a symptom, not a flaw. Her confidence grew stronger as each week passed. One morning, she recalled her grocery list without checking her notes once. This tiny victory filled her with pride, proof her mind was strengthening. She started reading short stories again, something she had stopped due to brain fog. She found herself turning pages without losing focus, or rereading passages. Her concentration was returning like a long-lost friend. Helen also noticed she slept more deeply since drinking the tea consistently. She woke up fewer times during the night and felt more rested in the morning. Her dreams became clearer, another sign her brain was recovering. One evening she ran into an old neighbor who hadn't seen her in months. He remarked that she seemed brighter, more energetic than before. Helen laughed shyly, unsure how to explain her herbal journey. She simply said she was taking better care of her mind. The neighbor nodded approvingly, saying that aging gracefully was a brave path. Helen walked home feeling proud, holding her small bag of groceries close. She realized she hadn't forgotten a single item she needed. Her journal entries became more expressive as her thought flow improved. She wrote about her childhood, memories she hadn't accessed in decades. Even her handwriting looked steadier on the page. Dr. Sato encouraged her to share her progress with others struggling with memory. Helen considered starting a small tea circle in her community center. She wanted others to feel the relief she had found, but she hesitated, wondering if her experience was unique. Dr. Sato assured her that many seniors could benefit from the same ritual. He reminded her that healing becomes stronger when shared. Helen left the session with a new sense of purpose. She started preparing extra tea bags to give to her neighbors. She wrote little notes explaining the herbs and their benefits. She placed the small packets in a basket near her front door. The next day, the neighbors thanked her, intrigued by the idea. Helen felt a spark of joy knowing she had helped someone else. At the end of the month, she took another online cognitive test. Her score improved significantly, more than she expected. She smiled wide, her eyes filling with emotional relief. Helen knew she still had more healing ahead, but she was finally moving forward. She looked at her steaming teacup that morning with deep gratitude. She whispered a soft thank you, feeling connected to her grandmother's wisdom. And little did she know, her biggest transformation was still to come. 6 months passed, and Helen's life looked profoundly different. She woke each morning with clarity, feeling excited for the day ahead. Her tea ritual had become a sacred moment of peace and grounding. Her daughter noticed her sharper conversations and better recall. Helen no longer feared losing herself to memory decline. Her confidence glowed in every interaction, every step she took. One bright morning she walked through the park, enjoying the breeze. Birds sang overhead, and she felt fully present with every sound. She sat on her favorite bench beneath an old oak tree. She opened her journal and reread her early entries. The fear in those pages felt like a distant memory. Her handwriting had grown steady, her sentences more fluid. She felt proud of the path she had walked with courage. She reached into her bag and pulled out a small tin of tea herbs. It was the same blend she had used for months with unwavering dedication. She prepared a warm cup and her small thermos before leaving home. Sipping it in the park felt like honoring her journey. She thought of her grandmother, imagining her smiling with approval. Memories once clouded now returned with vivid colors and emotions. Helen felt connected to her past again, not lost in fog. She closed her eyes and thanked her body for responding to care. She thanked herself for not giving up when fear tried to take over. Another woman sat beside her and complimented her calm energy. Helen shared her herbal ritual and the transformation it brought. The woman listened with hopeful eyes, absorbing every detail. Helen realized she was now the one giving wisdom to others. Her journey had come full circle in a beautiful way. She encouraged the woman to try the tea and trust the process. Helen stood up, feeling steady and full of strength. She walked home with a lightness she hadn't felt in years. Later that afternoon, she visited Dr. Sato for a follow-up appointment. He reviewed her cognitive assessments with a pleased smile. Her scores showed remarkable improvement across memory categories. He congratulated her, noting her consistency was the true medicine. Helen felt tears of relief fill her eyes. She finally believed her future held possibility, not decline. She thanked Dr. Sato for guiding her with patience and wisdom. He reminded her the brain thrives when treated with daily rituals of care. Helen promised to continue her practice for life. She stepped outside the clinic, feeling the sun warm her cheeks. She breathed deeply, letting the moment settle into her heart. Her journey had taught her that small rituals create powerful change. She realized aging didn't mean losing herself. It meant rediscovering herself. Her cup of tea, had become a symbol of resilience and renewal. Helen walked home whispering gratitude for the life she still had to live. Her mind felt alive, steady, and beautifully her own again, and she knew her story might inspire others to protect their minds, too. Thank you for taking this moment for yourself. Health is not a race. It's a daily ritual. Take your cup of care, and we'll see you at the next longevity coffee. Please subscribe and share this wisdom.